Welcome to the third week of Advent, the week of joy. It is Wednesday, December the 18th, 2024. This is the Manna at the Tap podcast provided by Tapestry Ministries. In it, we actively seek the spiritual nourishment our souls crave. Together, we explore one of the daily lectionary readings designed to be the manna which nurtures our spiritual growth and provides the sustenance our souls need. I'm Gloria, a fellow traveler on this spiritual journey, and together we share insights and interpretations from these readings that enrich our spiritual lives. The lectionary text is Luke chapter 7, which opens with Jesus healing the servant of a centurion about to die. The centurion told Jesus to speak words of healing as there was no need to come to his home. When Jesus heard these words from the centurion, he was amazed. Turning to the crowd that followed him, he told them he had not found such great faith in Israel. Afterward, he came upon a funeral. The deceased was the only son of a widow. Without being asked, Jesus felt compassion for the mother, raised the man from the dead, and gave him to his mother. The people's response to the raising of the unknown man created fear, but they praised God, saying, "A great prophet has risen among us." John the Baptist was now in prison, and his disciples told him what was happening. So he sent two of them to ask Jesus if he was the one who was to come. Jesus did not answer with a simple yes or no, but presented them with the signs of being in the very presence of the Messiah. The sick were cured, and the dead had been raised. After John's disciples left, Jesus asked the crowd for their opinion of John the Baptist. The lectionary text is Luke chapter 7, verses 31 to 35, in which Jesus compares his ministry to John the Baptist's. In a parable, Jesus compared the people of his generation to children calling out in a derogatory song to each other. They made up the games, the rules of the game as they went along, and then they complained that no one was playing or following them. In this parable, Jesus was speaking about the Pharisees and religious leaders. You see, they had taken the 10 Commandments, expanded them into 613 commandments. 365 of these commandments were negative, meaning you shall not, and 248 were positive, meaning you shall. But the Pharisees wanted more. Jesus went on to say John the Baptist lived like one of the prophets of the Old Testament. He didn't drink wine because he was a Nazarite. He lived in the countryside, eating honey and wild locusts. The Pharisees and experts in the law rejected John's teaching, and Luke stated they were rejecting God's plan for themselves. They said John had a demon. Jesus, on the other hand, called himself the Son of Man, meaning that he acknowledged he was the Messiah. He kept friends with tax collectors and sinners. And the Pharisees and the religious leaders called him a glutton and a drunkard. The religious leaders and Pharisees wanted to control John the Baptist and Jesus, but they both refused to dance to the music offered and were criticized by the Pharisees. In the closing verse of the lectionary reading, Luke 7:35, Jesus posed this statement: wisdom is vindicated by all her children. He encouraged the crowd to watch and wait to see who was right. The Pharisees and the lifestyle they offered of endless rules and regulations, or the lifestyle Jesus offered, a relationship with God and the kind of disciples a relationship with God produces. How are all the children of wisdom vindicated? Wisdom is a divine gift of God that gives us the skills necessary to live a fruitful life. Proverbs 3 tells us one is blessed and finds wisdom and gains understanding. The book of James, chapter 1, verse 5, tells us to ask God if we lack wisdom, and God will give it to us. Jesus is the fullness of God's wisdom. And in this season of Advent, we are called to receive him because of the hope, peace, and joy that he brings.